The Dodge Challenger made its debut in the fall of 1969 as a 1970 model, arriving at a time when the American muscle car scene was at its absolute peak. Dodge was somewhat late to the pony car wars. Ford had struck gold with the Mustang in 1964, and Chevrolet and Pontiac followed with the Camaro and Firebird in 1967. Plymouth, Dodge's sister brand under Chrysler, had already launched the Barracuda, but Dodge needed its own competitor to fully participate in this highly profitable market. The Challenger was built on Chrysler's new E-body platform, which it shared with the third-generation Plymouth Barracuda, but Dodge's version was slightly larger, allowing it to compete directly against not just the Mustang and Camaro, but also cars like the Mercury Cougar and even more upscale performance models. Styling was a major strength. Its long hood, short deck proportioned Coke bottle curves, and bold split grille gave it a commanding and aggressive stance that made it stand out on the road. One of the biggest selling points of the first-generation Challenger was its incredible variety. Dodge wanted a car to appeal to a wide spectrum of buyers, so it offered the Challenger in nearly every possible configuration. Coupe convertible hardtop base model, luxury-oriented SE, special edition, sporty R/T, road/track, and even extreme T/A Trans Am built for homologation and racing. Under the hood, the options were staggering. Buyers could choose from everything ranging from a modest 225 cubic inch slant six to fire-breathing V8S, including the legendary 426 Hemi and 446 pack engines. This versatility allowed Dodge to market the Challenger to young buyers seeking affordable style, performance enthusiasts craving maximum horsepower, and even families who wanted a stylish cruiser with room for passengers. Performance versions quickly cemented the Challenger's reputation. The R/T models, in particular, became icons of the muscle car world. The Challenger T/A, though short-lived, added to its racing credibility, featuring fiberglass hoods, side-exit exhausts, and suspension tuning for better handling. Dodge also offered a wide array of bright, eye-catching paint colors with wild names like Plum Crazy, Hemi Orange, and Sublime, which helped the Challenger fit right in with the flashy, youthful energy of the early 1970s muscle car culture. For a brief moment, the Challenger captured the essence of American performance: raw power, bold looks, and individuality. But the golden age didn't last. By the mid-1970s, a combination of external pressures began to choke the muscle car market. The 1973 oil crisis caused gas prices to skyrocket, and suddenly, buyers became wary of thirsty V8S. At the same time, insurance companies started penalizing high-performance cars with steep premiums, discouraging younger drivers, the core market for muscle cars, from buying them. To make matters worse, new federal safety and emission regulations forced automakers to tune engines and add heavy safety equipment, making cars slower and less efficient. The Challenger, like nearly all of its rivals, suffered. Horsepower ratings dropped dramatically year after year, and its once muscular image began to fade. By 1974, Dodge introduced a facelift with larger bumpers to meet new safety standards, but the car was already losing its edge. Sales began to decline sharply after the initial burst of enthusiasm in 1970. By the time the first generation ended in 1974, the Challenger had lost much of the performance glory that had made it special. The second generation, introduced in 1978, was a major disappointment to enthusiasts. Rather than a continuation of the E-body muscle car, Dodge revived the Challenger nameplate on a rebadged Mitsubishi Galant Lambda. This was done as part of Chrysler's partnership with Mitsubishi to offer smaller, fuel-efficient cars during a period of rising fuel concerns. Unfortunately, this Challenger was a far cry from the original. It was a compact, Japanese-built coupe with small four-cylinder and V6 engines, entirely lacking the power, character, and swagger the muscle car it replaced. From 1978 to 1983, this imported Challenger sold in modest numbers but never captured the public's imagination. For most enthusiasts, it felt like a betrayal of the Challenger's original identity, and the car faded into obscurity. After 1983, Dodge quietly discontinued the nameplate altogether, letting it rest for decades. In this dormant period, the Challenger's reputation was kept alive largely through nostalgia, car clubs, and its appearances in pop culture, most famously in 1971 cult movie Vanishing Point, which cemented the Challenger R/T as a symbol of freedom, rebellion, and pure American horsepower. By the mid-1980s and 1990s, the Challenger was remembered as a classic of the muscle car era, but there was little indication that Dodge would bring it back in its original spirit. Thus, the first chapter of the Challenger's history was one of meteoric rise and equally dramatic fall. It went from being one of the most powerful, stylish, and versatile muscle cars of the 1970s to a watered-down badge engineer coupe that failed to live up to its name. For years, the Challenger seemed destined to remain a relic of the past, with its legacy frozen in time as part of the golden age of American muscle. After disappearing in the early 1980s, the Dodge Challenger nameplate lay dormant for over 2 decades, remembered fondly by enthusiasts but with no signs of revival. Meanwhile, in the early 2000s, the automotive landscape began to shift in a way that gave Dodge an opportunity. Retro-style cars were becoming popular again. Ford successfully revived the Mustang in 2005 with a design that captured the spirit of the original, and Chevrolet was preparing a Camaro comeback of its own. Dodge saw an opening to bring back its muscle car icon in a way that stayed true to its roots rather than repeating the mistake of the 1978 to 1983 Mitsubishi-based version. In 2006, Dodge unveiled the Challenger concept at the Detroit Auto Show, and the reception was overwhelmingly positive. The concept design leaned heavily on the styling of the 1970 model year, with a wide-stance long hood, short deck, and familiar split grille. Enthusiasts immediately clamored for production, and Dodge answered the call. In 2008, the Challenger officially returned to the market, built on Chrysler's LX platform, shared with the Dodge Charger sedan and Chrysler 300. The revival was more than just a nostalgic throwback. It was a statement that Dodge was ready to compete again in the modern muscle car wars. The initial lineup included the Challenger SE with a V6, the R/T with a 5.7-liter Hemi V8, and the range-topping SRT8 with a 6.1-liter Hemi, producing 425 horsepower. From the start, Dodge made sure that performance was central to the car's identity, but it also offered a comfortable, roomy interior and a smooth ride, setting it apart from rivals as a muscle car that could double as a practical daily driver. Over the next decade, Dodge continued to refine and expand the Challenger lineup, pushing the boundaries of performance to levels no one had imagined during the original muscle car era. In 2011, the SRT8 was upgraded to a 6.4-liter, 392 cubic inches Hemi, boosting output and cementing the Challenger as a modern powerhouse. Then came the model that truly changed the game, the 2015 Dodge Challenger SRT Hellcat. Equipped with a 6.2-liter supercharged Hemi V8 producing 707 horsepower, the Hellcat redefined what a factory-built muscle car could be. It wasn't just powerful, it was excessive in the best possible way, restoring Dodge's image as the wild card of the American auto industry. Suddenly, the Challenger wasn't just competing with the Mustang and Camaro, it was overshadowing them in sheer horsepower bragging rights. But Dodge didn't stop there. In 2018, the company launched the Challenger SRT Demon, a drag strip monster engineered to dominate quarter-mile racing. With 840 horsepower on race fuel, specialized drag radials, and even a factory option to delete the passenger and rear seats to save weight, the Demon became the most powerful production muscle car in history. It was capable of running the quarter mile in under 10 seconds, a feat so extreme that the NHRA, National Hot Rod Association, actually banned it from competition unless it was fitted with additional safety equipment. The Demon wasn't just a car, it was a cultural phenomenon, representing the pinnacle of old-school, gasoline-fueled excess in an era when most automakers were focusing on downsizing engines, improving efficiency, and preparing for electrification. Throughout its modern life, the Challenger remained true to its roots in ways that its competitors did not. While Ford and Chevrolet pursued lighter, more track-focused approaches with the Mustang and Camaro, Dodge doubled down on the Challenger's reputation as the ultimate straight-line bruiser. It was heavier and larger than its rivals, but embraced that identity by offering comfort, space, and monstrous horsepower figures. Dodge also played into nostalgia with heritage paint colors, retro badges, and wide-body packages that gave the Challenger an even more menacing stance. The car wasn't just a vehicle. It became a lifestyle statement for enthusiasts who valued raw power, muscle car tradition, and unapologetic performance. However, as the 2010s gave way to the 2020s, the automotive industry began to change at a rapid pace. Global emission regulations grew stricter, fuel economy standards tightened, and consumer demand shifted toward SUVs and electric vehicles. Stellantis, Dodge's parent company, formed after the merger of Fiat Chrysler and PSA Group, made it clear that the brand's future would lie in electrification. Despite continued sales success, the Challenger even outsold Camaro at times. The writing was on the wall. In 2022, Dodge announced that both the Challenger and Charger would end production after the 2023 model year, bringing the modern muscle era to a close. To celebrate the Challenger's farewell, Dodge introduced a lineup of special last-call models in 2023, each paying tribute to a different chapter of its muscle car legacy. The crown jewel was the Dodge Challenger SRT Demon 170, unveiled as the final send-off. This version pushed the supercharged Hemi to an astonishing 1,025 horsepower on E85 fuel, making it the most powerful production car Dodge had ever built. It was a fitting finale, a car that embodied everything the Challenger had come to represent: excess performance and unrelenting devotion to the muscle car ethos. By the end of 2023, the Challenger rolled off the assembly line for the last time, closing a 15-year modern run that had not only revived a nameplate, but elevated it to legendary status. In its second life, the Challenger managed to capture both the nostalgia of the past and the wild spirit of modern performance. Now, Dodge is looking ahead to an electric future, with the Dodge Charger Daytona SRT EV concept hinting at what's next. Yet for enthusiasts, the Challenger will always be remembered as the last great embodiment of the traditional American muscle car, a car that refused to compromise until the very end, roaring into history with supercharged fury.